Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. This time, the Doomsday Machine. It's ominous, you know. You saw the episode. That's why you're here. Because you've seen it. You're rewatching with us. Something else you might want to rewatch? Start listening to it. It's not even a rewatch. It's brand new on the network. Marianne's Macabre Movie Review Podcast. Check it out. It's obviously, it's as it's described. It's macabre. It's horror. Marianne and her crew, they look at horror movies. It's very specifically horror movies. And it's not the average horror movies. They're deep into the genre. So if you're deep in that genre and you dig listening to it, check them out. Check out the movies they're checking out. And Marianne does not hold back. She will tell you what she thinks. So please give that a listen. Also, another way to support us, besides just listen to us, go to patreon.com/IABD. Help us so we can do more for you. We'll appreciate it, and we'll show you our appreciation. We'll shower you with appreciation and special member benefits, things other folks won't hear. Also, we want to thank our editors, David Huff and Ando Schaefer, who do so much for us here at It's All Been Trekked Before. And speaking of It's All Been Trekked Before, sit back as the guys discuss the Doomsday Machine on It's All Been Trekked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. I'm laughing for no reason. Today we're discussing Space Dick. The Doomsday Moby Dick in space. The Doomsday Machine. See, if I explain it, then we don't have to beep it out because you can tell I'm not cursing.
I understand.
Doomsday Machine. First of all, first thing, just if you have not seen it with the new special effects, go watch it with the new special effects.
They're amazing. I mean, the difference is amazing, I should say.
Right.
I mean, the new ones are... they're not mind-blowing, but they enhance the episode so much.
They're not like Doctor Strange level.
No.
But seeing those set in this 1960s episode was... I was just like, wow.
Yeah. It's like seeing a new episode in a lot of ways. At least for me it was.
Oh, absolutely. Both the Doomsday Machine and the Constellation were way cool. So, impressions. What do we think of this episode?
It's what I always liked. And I still liked it. It's still a good, solid episode. Like I said, the effects, really enhance it.
A lot fewer problems than the last episode.
Yeah. There's not as... Maybe it'll change as we talk. It seems like there's not as much to unpack here. But
I'd say that's true.
Still a very interesting storyline. And we'll get into it. There's the nuclear war analogies, obviously from the '60s, and they're back now and better than ever.
Hopefully, by the time this goes live, we're not all in a nuclear war with North Korea.
Hopefully, the Doomsday Machine is not prophetic. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I remember really liking it a lot, and I was not disappointed.
I don't know, maybe it was the energy drink or something, but I felt unusually riveted.
Oh, good.
It was just it's like there's a sense of peril that I kept feeling throughout it. I was invested,
absolutely.
Even knowing, of course, that everyone was going to survive to some extent. At least a few more episodes.
And
everyone except Decker and White Uhura.
Right.
They were expected.
I think White Uhura comes back.
Yeah.
I think.
She doesn't need to.
Well, but a lot of things don't, but I think she does.
Lieutenant Palmer, played by Elizabeth Rogers.
I think she's in a couple other episodes, I think.
Since you're bringing that up, I'm sure you probably know the backstory there or whatever was going on. Was there some sort of contract dispute or something?
What I read was that Uhura she'd agreed... Uhura.
Oh, one other episode, The Way to Eden, which is like 2 years from now.
And is she playing the same part, or just...
It doesn't... Yes, she is playing the same part.
Okay. Nichelle Nichols she'd agreed to do some concert that week, or something like that. So they told, is it Rogers? Is that
Elizabeth Rogers?
Lieutenant
Palmer.
They're like, hey, can you hang out? She's like, yeah. And then she's not coming back. And she's like, all right, I'll do it. That's the way I read it. But yeah.
So she's gone? That's it?
She was one other episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Sorry.
Okay.
Rogers is gone.
One other episode, Uhura. I was like, wow.
No.
Might be about the time Uhura was ready to quit Star Trek. The actress is in one other episode of Star Trek, Metamorphosis, but she's not a Starfleet officer.
That's
she's
right.
the voice of the companion.
That's right.
Uhura, Nichelle Nichols did try to quit the original series because she felt very disrespected and her lines kept getting taken away and everything. She had decided that weekend that she had quit. She tried to quit on Friday. The production, Roddenberry, were
that was for this.
thinking over. I don't know if it was this episode.
Oh, it was another time.
But Keith doesn't know the story. I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So you heard Nichelle Nichols tried to quit on Friday. They said take the weekend to think about it because they really didn't want her to quit. And that weekend, that Friday night, she happened to meet a man you may have heard of him. His name was Martin Luther King Jr. And
I've heard of his father.
Maybe.
Senior, yeah.
And she told Martin Luther King Jr. that she was going to quit, and he said, "You can't. You are what my kids look at and represent Black America on television." And so she went back on Monday and said, "Okay, I'm not going to quit." So we can thank the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. for saving Uhura on Star Trek.
That is surprising. That sounds like almost manufactured. Like, it sounds like an episode of like one of those. Let's go back and mess with the past. And
it does, but it's a story I've read in multiple sources told by multiple people, so I tend to believe it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's false. I'm just saying it sounds so remarkable that it sounds like it's one of those.
Right, but it makes sense from when we go back to the '60s perspective. Like, yeah.
Well, in the '60s there were only a couple hundred people in the U.S. So.
Of course.
She was at the supermarket or something. He happened to be there.
And I know this is wrong too, but I count that as one of Dr. Martin Luther King's top 10 accomplishments. Or at least top 10 things I'm most grateful for.
He did 10 things? Wow.
Well, he died. That's one.
Wow, okay.
He had a dream, that's 2.
Oh. And he saved Uhura's job. That's 3. That's all you need to know.
I hope this episode comes out in January. That'll be very nice and commemorative. That'll be fantastic.
My name is Laura Spires, if anyone wants to look me up.
And I'm Casey May, guest starring in this episode.
I'm Stephen Woosley. And this is
Colleen Dunne. I'm Colleen Dunne.
We didn't introduce ourselves, did we? I guess we just did.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't introduced ourselves. I assume if
you guys just prices righted us. You guys got to bid last.
Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves for real, though.
I'm Laura Spires.
This is Steven.
Keith, I bid $1.
I'm Colleen. I bid $1.01.
There you go. Now
and Jimmy-Jerome bids $1.02.
How did I not see that coming?
Actually, retail price 94 cents. Yo, we're bid.
Clear the board. Start again.
No, Steven only bid 30 cents.
That's right.
We just didn't hear
it.
I missed a lot of episodes between the beginning of the series and now, but this is the first time that I recall seeing a 5 o'clock shadow on somebody from Starfleet. And I thought that alone spoke to his level of distress, because everyone else is always impeccably shaven.
That's true. Good point. I mean,
that was the first thing that struck me about the Commodore.
He was most famous for playing in the movie The Farmer's Daughter. He was in To Kill a Mockingbird. He was the prosecutor.
Yeah.
Escape from the Planet of the Apes. He was the president.
Yep.
And Uncle Buck. He was Mr. Hatfield.
Yeah, he did a ton of work.
53 episodes of Murder, She Wrote as Dr. Seth
Oh,
Maslow.
yeah. He did do a bunch of that. Yeah, he did a ton of work.
And 25 episodes of Sonic the Hedgehog as Uncle Chuck. He was in Parenthood, the 1990s series. So he's got a lot of credits.
Yeah, Wyndham was a great character actor, as my dad would say.
I thought, we laughed at his performance, but I thought he actually acted well. I mean, that's a situation where you try to put your mind in what he's experienced, where he's just lost, as we all laughed about, 400 crewmen.
Right, which is unrelated.
But the way he lost them was one of those total tragedies that he beat them down to the planet to save them so he could take the ship. And then the thing ate the planet and killed his crew.
I missed that. That's it. Yeah.
That to me, he's like, that's what you're supposed to do. You get the crew safe, and then the captain does the thing. But instead, his crew died, and he was the survivor. And the guilt that was weighing on him, I can't blame him for any of his actions in this episode.
Yeah, and it comes right after the episode we just watched, which was The Apple, where Kirk is kicking himself for making mistakes, and we talked about it then.
400 people.
There's going to be somebody who actually loses 400 people,
right?
And it's Decker. I thought those scenes where he's acting, it could come off as overacting, but I think it's really just he's committed,
right. Yeah.
And he really does before green screen acting, because a lot of his acting in this episode is pretend this is happening, and you can tell by the way his face changes, like. All right, now this is happening to you. All right, now you're on fire. Now this is happening. And I think he does a great job going through. He's a good actor. He's a good character.
You could say overacting, but he was in such an extreme situation. It's hard
exactly. I agree, and that's the way I take it.
Right,
too.
right.
They had the Captain Ahab-ness down.
Yeah, and actually, I think, Keith, you were asking about him with the tapes.
Oh, yeah, he kept holding those cassettes or something, or the discs,
in Mutiny on the Bounty, Bogart does that when he plays Captain Queeg with ball bearings, so he modeled himself after that.
You know that for a fact?
I read that. Yeah, I read that.
Oh,
yeah.
all right,
yeah.
well...
And I like that when Spock was trying to leave him of command and was like, do I have to arrest you? And there was that whole tense bluff moment.
Yeah.
That's a great...
He does just get up and go. Like, there's a point where he's like, okay, this avenue's closed to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to regroup and find something else, which shows you how he hadn't lost all sanity.
And I think I read an earlier version that didn't happen, and they were like, it works better if this guy gets some redemption and everything. And yeah, it is a terrible thing. And Spock just so shade better than anybody.
Yeah.
It's just...
But Spock was relatively understanding until he was like,
He was.
You need to go report to the medical bay. I kind of wanted him to be like, okay, you don't have to leave the bridge. You gave up command. Just stand here and give me advice. But at the same time, he was a little too unstable to leave on the bridge.
Yeah.
So,
and I thought he was going to do the same thing too, because I couldn't remember what he did with him.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
Sure enough.
I wrote down my last comment was arrest his ass anyway. Okay, there was that moment of that shouldn't even be like an option. It should be like give him the freaking.
Honestly, I think
brig.
it was Spock had extreme respect for both his rank and what he'd been through.
Yeah, it makes sense to some extent, but I mean, he seemed dangerous. I mean, he seemed like just like he could do anything, and he did do anything. Worked out, obviously, but I don't know. The right call for me would have been to confine him in some way.
It would have been, but I could see why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
What do you think about the decision to make him a Commodore instead of a captain? I mean, he was still the captain of the ship.
That creates
but
that
he
drama.
outranked Kirk.
Yeah.
Right, that creates the drama.
Right.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have made any sense. And I really, as I said, I was riveted by the whole thing. I thought I was amused and still kind of awe-stricken by like the way the crew was selling that confrontation, that first moment when you just see everybody turn their heads, going, "What is happening right now? Oh my God, what are they going to do?" And oh snap! This is about to,
And to Keith's point, this episode felt half as long as some of the other episodes we watched.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Granted, there's just one storyline going on more or less, but I thought it flew by too. And that moment with Spock and Decker is so tense and great. And
well, and Sulu not knowing an answer to, and then Kirk trying to get assert control, but not being on the ship to assert control.
Yes. Right. Yeah, once Kirk gets in, it's even better. It heightens it even more.
Yeah, it was just all, man.
I think, and I don't even know if it's negative, the only pullback I would bring down would be McCoy, but McCoy's being McCoy saying, why aren't you going to do anything? You got to do something. And Spock's just like, I'm doing it. I got this.
But I noticed he said almost exactly the same thing that Kirk ended up saying, which was blast regulations or something.
Right.
Like maybe even those exact words.
Yeah. And I didn't realize this till today. I don't know why I didn't, but supposedly, and it's in the novelization, this is way in the future, spoiler alert, Star Trek The Motion Picture, Decker in that movie is
his son.
Commodore Decker's son.
Right.
Which, if you make all those connections, it makes that connection in that movie tighter.
Which would have been really interesting had they done the Star Trek Phase 2 television season with Commodore Decker, or with Captain Decker.
Yeah.
First Officer Decker, whatever he would have ended up being. So, Decker does come back around, and his son, sadly, suffers pretty much the same tragic fate.
Very similar. Very similar kind of thing coming at him.
Although, while this may remind you of V'ger a little bit in some aspects, it also
ways.
reminded me more strongly of the probe in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
Yes.
The big cylinder.
Well, and that's one thing about this episode I liked initially, and like we said, the effects are even better, but it's just a weird looking... It's a weird looking... If somebody said, show me a Doomsday Machine, without seeing this episode, I don't think anyone would... That would be the first thing from our mind.
It looked like a horn.
Like a cornucopia, or a cornucopia, or a Viking horn, or a cornucopia,
Mm-hmm.
You think fruits and vegetables and some stuff are going to come out of it.
That was the last episode.
That's right. But I love that it's so weird, and that helps give it that alien. It's from another galaxy.
Oh yeah,
and all that stuff. And it looked so much better. These effects gave it even more of that effect for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, Keith, I said something to Keith at the beginning of this episode that immediately my thoughts went to Galactus, which is the Marvel Planet Eater.
Right.
And I looked up real quick. Galactus did make his first appearance in the comics in March 1966.
Huh.
So a year and a half before this aired. However, the writer of this episode had written It's Norman Spinrad.
Yeah.
He had written this as a short story, not as a Star Trek story, but as a short story, science fiction story, years before, and had a lot of trouble getting it published, and then adapted his short story for Star Trek. So that pretty much confirms he did not rip off Galactus.
Oh, cool.
They kind of evolved parallel, independently.
We talked about this off podcast, but we have talked about it on podcast. Keith, I think, was the one first one brought up the whole. Every time starships or any starship comes, they're always in the same plane, right in front. But in this one, we get to see the constellation far below. Until the Enterprise takes on the killer machine, in which case it has to be right head on, which seems weird. That's the one place it can shoot out of, and you're right in front of it.
When they're firing the phasers and stuff.
That's right.
They're
above
around
it
and stuff.
Yeah.
What did you think about the ship design and what they did with it?
It looked. When we went back and looked at the old effects, it still looked pretty cool. But even the updated ones look really cool.
Well, certainly. Yeah.
I would have liked to. And in my mind, I guess I didn't watch this episode enough back in the day. I thought they beamed over in spacesuits because it seems like as much damage as they suffered, they should have. But
they would have in the movies.
Yeah. Time, money, and all that.
And they got to use the Enterprise sets, obviously.
Right.
And then they basically just switched two of the numbers in the registry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know they did.
1017 instead of 1701.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of wish it was a different style of spaceship because I feel like we see the Constitution class a few times in this series, and not
something
really
more like the Reliant or something. Just anything else. Yeah.
I mean, I guess back in the at that point, those were their main ship, and there were only like 12 or 13 of them anyway.
While we're talking about ships that are different but the same, the shuttlecraft in this episode, the shots of that were so much better now. It's very cool.
Although you made the point, I think, that when Kirk
in
the ridiculous countdown should have just taken the shuttlecraft.
Quite the setup of
the
ship, you set this for 30 seconds,
and
I said why not a minute? I think Keith, you said why not 5 minutes?
No, it was the other way around.
Oh, is that what? Okay.
Yeah, I said in 1 minute. You said 5 minutes.
Okay,
that's hilarious. I mean, it was a very funny thing to talk about, but at the same time, obviously they're gonna have to write it. Like no matter what arbitrary number you pick, it's got to be something that. But it did seem like a...
I'd like it was 5 minutes and it's just shot going back and forth as the ship slowly goes in.
Like the guy lost the powers, like, no! The steamroller comes at him.
Exactly.
Forever.
My flimsy excuse for that would be that it's analogous to maybe, I don't know, them thinking that the planet killer is some sort of intelligence. You don't want to throw the grenade too soon, so to speak.
Yeah.
If you give it 5 minutes, what's it going to do if it's looking at it? You know,
right?
That's fair.
Time it just right to get into the mouth.
And that was something we really didn't understand the intelligence or the way the Doomsday Machine thought. And I think that, and I don't know if it's a necessary Dr. Strangelove reference or not, but I think the thought of what with Dr. Strangelove and the Doomsday Machine and that it was such a simple device. All it knew was if A happens, everything gets destroyed. And so I think that's. In my mind, that's the way they wrote, and that's the way this thing worked. Was I destroy everything until
Strangelove predates us by 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned 2001: A Space Odyssey.
That was me.
Which was
they mentioned pod bay doors in it, and
also
the shot at the end. But I was going to say, even if there wasn't some sort of intelligence, even just lining it up and timing it just right for it to go into the mouth and explode at a certain point would still be kind of tricky. So maybe.
Well, it had some kind of reaction because it only fired on the ships that were firing on it. Mm-hmm. So you could fly in as long as you had fire on it.
Right. It's supposed to eat things anyway, right? So.
Right. So we're just going to take the power. But the last episode, the Apple, we talked about, they couldn't say the word sex or reproduction, all this stuff. But they've had 2 episodes with suicides in them, which I think is kind of controversial. I don't know. Maybe it was in the 60s. I don't know. I feel like suicide's been
like heroic.
One was heroic. One was heroic. Yes.
Well, death and violence have always been, I guess, more acceptable.
I guess they're okay.
American
I guess you're right.
Sex,
I guess you're right.
While we're on death and destruction, the allegory of the H-bomb and this is the first time it's been used in a constructive manner.
Yeah.
I thought, first of all, that was a little preachy. But
it was. A little
but it was brief. It wasn't like it hammered the whole episode like the Apple.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole thing was the thing, so they couldn't not hammer it, I guess.
But it almost seemed like it was an afterthought rather than the point of the story.
Yes.
To me.
Actually, that was part of the reason. This is Jim Doohan's favorite episode, Scotty's favorite episode. Yeah. Even though he didn't have a huge part. I mean, he was involved, obviously. He loved the nuclear war analogy or nuclear power analogy, and he really loved William Wyndham in it. He loved, even though they're not only a couple scenes together, but he really liked watching him work and really thought he was great and loved the episode in general. So
it seemed much more about the character interaction and the redemption rather than it having anything to do with mass destruction per se.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah, like I said, that scene when Spock's relieving him of command or not relieving him of command for a while.
Right.
I think that was really great, and I thought it wasn't. Some of the other episodes we laugh and there's those stings and you see everyone turn.
Yeah.
This one it felt more natural.
Right.
You could almost feel the eyes of the Decker does a little turnaround to see is everyone with me? Is everybody okay?
Yeah. Anybody else got anything to say about it? Huh?
And then a
How
couple
about you
minutes
over
later,
here?
it's like now all the eyes are on him, and he's the one in the center. He's not turning because everybody's already there.
Right.
And so I thought that was well directed and well crafted. And again, you put someone like Wyndham in there, he does a great job with it.
When they were talking about the existence of this planet killer, and Kirk's first reaction was, "Why would they do that? why would they make a weapon?"
Right.
And then somebody else has something very similar, which seemed like it was kind of forcing in like that other short story aspect, maybe, or something else that was the afterthought of, oh, it's bad to make things that kill a lot of people, but...
Well, one of the novels to try to retroactively make it for continuity was like, oh, it was created to stop the Borg.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
They get on there and they're like, well, what was it? I don't know. They keep asking, what was it? And I said, they didn't have any pictures? How could I get a picture of this thing?
They were still downloading the tapes and getting it back to the Enterprise because nothing on the Constitution was working.
And we know it's two things. One is they didn't want to do more special effects shots, and two, kind of build up that, well, what is this thing? What is this thing?
And Decker was a little bit busy to pull out a cell phone and snap a picture.
He had the memory cards in his hands. He was like, I forgot what these were on. You know?
Man, memory cards have gotten huge.
Was it... Oh no, that's not right. I was going to say, wasn't in the Menagerie they had all those videotapes, but I forgot those are the Telosians. They're way ahead with all this. But they're far advanced.
You know, put him in the chair and give him the beeper so he can just for the trials.
We can easily record anything. We can record what we're doing now, but the Enterprise could not possibly record what goes on the view screen.
Well, yeah, it's the matter of conceiving the future from the past.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That I understand. Absolutely.
But yeah, I understand.
Speaking of the view screen, we had two walks in front of it, which
that was cool.
I didn't remember those happening.
No, me neither. Not in the original.
The first one, they follow one of the yeomen walking through. I'm like, that's interesting. This is her moment. I have no idea who she is. If she was ever in another episode. They follow her through. She stops, hands something to Kirk. Then he does the walk across, and then we get that cool walk across with Kirk and Spock later. I thought that was really cool.
What were you saying?
Visually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
What were you saying about replaceable panels or something? I didn't really follow that.
So the way they constructed the bridge is it's basically a big circle that's built in sections. And they can pull any section away at any given time to get the camera in there.
Oh, okay. Now I see.
Very modular.
To make it the effect of being able to do a 360 shot of something at some point.
Yeah, it seemed like at least season 1 they may not have built the front of it yet, but certainly by seasons 2 and 3 the front of the bridge also existed physically, and that may have been why they had the walk in front of the view screen. They're like, hey, we got these front pieces now.
I wonder if that inspired, again I'm jumping ahead to the movie, Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, when they do at the very beginning, the Kobayashi Maru training, and the wall just breaks apart like that.
Yeah, I love that.
Kirk comes through.
That's one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, the first time I saw it, not having watched it, I'm like, oh my god, they're killing them all in the opening! Yeah, it was great. It was so good.
That was, mind-blowing. Colleen, your take on this episode? Any thoughts?
I was distracted by a baby for the first part of it,
figured.
so I only saw the end. It was okay. I missed the riveting parts that got you super into it. Fair. I admit the part where Kirk was driving the Constellation into the Death Eater. What was it called?
Planet
Killer.
Clearly I missed important details.
Well, they really have a good name.
And they were doing the countdown down again. It was like, of course we all knew he was going to make it, but it was still good.
Yeah.
It was a nice tense moment.
Yeah.
It was funny because Sulu was the one counting down how far away it was, and it was like 1,500 miles.
And why are they using miles to say
I was like, that seems so far away, though. I was like, this doesn't seem tense at all, but
I'm pretty sure
I guess in space you're going so fast that it's very
I'm pretty sure in the rest of Star Trek they use metric, though. So
because I thought they usually said meters,
Since you mentioned it, Spock also said a solar day, which I liked.
Now that I did like.
That I did too, because actually I was having
how do you measure a day?
Today, we've talked about this before, like, what's a day for these guys? Actually, I was reading the Universe Journey novel, and at one point, Takaladi, I think, is like, I'm going to work late tonight. And I got to thinking about, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but again, if they probably get on some kind of solar day or whatever. But
Right.
So what's late? But somebody's working that overnight shift,
Sure.
regardless of where you are in space. But yeah, that's an interesting concept.
There's some Star Trek novels that I want to say they're next gen actually follow the night shift on the bridge.
See, that would be
which I thought was really interesting.
that's what I would be curious to see.
What I liked about the urgency when they're all at the 10th showdown is everybody's telling everybody else to hurry. Kirk's like, Spock, you gotta hurry. Scotty, you gotta hurry. Then Spock's like, Scotty, you gotta hurry.
Well, and
I'm just like, they know. They're not like, oh, I'm just gonna be slow about this.
Well,
We had all the time in the world.
What I thought about that was they were very they weren't curt because Scotty jumps out of the Jeffries tube and he's like, all right, you can give it a go now, instead of just like, go, beam me. Da-da. Like I
do
joked.
think he jumped out of that tube pretty quick.
He did,
Yeah.
but as I joked, Kirk should have said beam me and just been waiting to say aboard as soon as he was ready.
Yes.
So it would have been, he could have had the full 30 seconds instead of having to use all 3 words.
And then once he beamed aboard, he should have ran right to the transport chief and came up
Give
big
me a
kiss
cup.
on his face. He didn't even say thank you. He
I
just
know.
ran
Didn't
right
even
out of that
look.
room.
You know, the transporter, Kyle, the people that are on transporter, the transporter guys, they're like soccer goalies. They only notice you when something gets screwed up.
Yeah.
That's the only sign.
Didn't seem like whenever Kirk was talking to Scotty and them on the Constellation that he was like at a prison visit behind that wall.
Yeah.
Like they kept talking through the wall. And at one point it's like, okay, they're working on something over there, so they're talking through it. But another point they were just standing back there watching him through the wall.
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you just come around?
I thought you were talking about the whole time he was on the bridge, but I know what you're talking about. Through the
When Kirk's on the Constellation.
I liked that when Kirk got beamed over, he was still on his phone, which made it feel more like a modern thing where somebody won't even get off their phone to beam up.
Yeah.
They were still on their phone checking scores or something.
Did we already mention how in the last episode he fired Scotty, and then in this one he was like, what was that? I'm going to raise...
You've just earned your pay for this.
You just
video.
earned your pay.
and I love all those exchanges.
Me too.
I love all those little exchanges. Because I don't know what Scotty makes, but...
He deserves more.
He does.
He's
Whatever
underpaid.
it is.
We're sure for that.
definitely
Whatever it
underpaid.
is.
He also says, and I just like the line, Scotty, give me that power.
It was
I want to say that to people.
watching this back to back with the Apple. There were so many things from the Apple I wanted to carry over.
Yeah.
Like when Decker's in the shuttle and Kirk's like, "You can't kill yourself." I wanted him to be like the Kirk role to Scotty. Yes, you can. You need to try harder. I can kill myself.
Well, and maybe it's because I knew that Decker had to go in and
Sure.
he'd been such a jerk, but everybody's saying, "Hey, turn around! You can't do this." It felt insincere to me. Not that I felt like they were acting badly or anything. I just felt like they were like, "I have to go through the motions." No, we need you. Turn around, please.
I thought I remember Decker being a worse, more crazy guy.
I did
Whereas
too.
This time, I'm like, I understand him.
I did too. I'm with you. I
I think
felt the
that just
same way.
means you're getting old.
Yeah, I was gonna
Probably.
mention something about that before.
Now when I see Our Town, I get it. I'm like, oh my god, that's a great play. Whereas before, I'm like, this is boring.
Just wait till we get to the what's the episode where they get old?
The Deadly Years.
Yeah, that one's gonna be a tough one.
Well,
I can tell you. For me, I saw it last year and it was hard. It was a lot different than when I was 13. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since I was a teenager.
It's like, oh, they're not that old. When I was 13, it's like, holy crap, they're old. I never want to be that old. Well, now I do. I'll take it. I don't need to age that fast, but again, we'll get there.
Well, it's like something you were saying about the Apple, and I can't remember what it was exactly. Something about how you didn't remember it as something. It wasn't as bad or it wasn't as good.
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. But yeah, that's because of how young you were at the time. It's
Yeah,
kind of funny how it
I
works.
definitely plays
Changes perspective, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing, when they beam over, the extras are not in red shirts. They're
Yes.
in yellow and blue,
Well, and
which is
yeah,
notable.
and
So
I-
you knew they weren't going to die.
Yeah, and I noted that not only that, but as soon as they landed, like 2 or 3 of them barked out like, "I have useful information. I have useful information too. Wow, this is an actual landing party that should be here."
Yeah.
And as we noted, there were no women because
It's too
Because it's
dangerous.
yeah, and that's why it was effective.
I liked...
Oh wow!
Unlike the planet on the apple.
Yeah.
That wasn't dangerous at all.
Right,
If
exactly.
Decker was a woman, he wouldn't have killed himself. I'm just saying. the little pretzel emblem that Decker was wearing.
I was going to mention that.
That was interesting.
I always thought of it as a pretzel. It looks like one of those.
But it wasn't
those Hanover,
like
those hard pretzels.
Yeah, but it wasn't balanced. It was
it wasn't. Yeah, but that's what I always thought of. It makes me hungry.
It just bothered me because it wasn't symmetrical. It was weirdly not at all symmetrical.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the thing about the landing party before, I actually made a note, which is kind of weird. I said I wondered if one of the reasons why they killed red shirts all the time was so they wouldn't have to show any blood.
Oh, I don't think so, but that's funny. The red was the security officers. These were engineering.
Well, I mean, from a production standpoint,
yeah.
like to get around the censorship or something.
No, they always got phasered, so they didn't have to show blood.
Yeah, true.
And my other note on fashion was, why was Kirk in casual wear in this episode? Like,
what was the
you're beaming over...
He was in the last episode.
He was in the green wraparound. Yeah, but the last episode he was beaming down to a paradise planet. This episode, it's like a ship in danger, everybody's dead, I'm still wearing my casual wrap. I'm not even going to put in the real uniform.
Yeah.
I feel like it was inappropriate for the situation.
There was the cutscene from the Apple where they're like, why are you going down for? Well, I'm going down to paradise.
Yeah,
I'm not going to run into a snake or an apple.
In the Apple, I thought it fit perfectly. In this episode, it seemed out of place.
My alternate episode is that Decker, when they're shooting the phasers, they accidentally find the button that explodes the planet killer. But in the process, they destroy the constellation and kill Kirk and Scotty.
So they find the ventilation shaft that you shoot straight down?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's 2 meters wide and they nail it. And
it's like womp rats.
in my T-16 back home. And then Decker's the hero. And even though he's killed 400, but he saved the Rigel system.
I had 2 alternate scenes.
Oh, all right.
Scenes is when Kirk was doing the engineering stuff on the constellation.
Yeah.
You get like a scene of somebody going to Scotty, what's he working on? We just put him in a panel. It's nothing. And then
I thought it was going to be Kirk's doing stuff and the lights keep going on and off down in the engineering where they're working.
I just thought they gave him a totally unimportant system.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is when Scotty's going around engineering, he like opens that cabinet and pulls up the device.
Yeah.
I wanted to open the cabinet and be like, wait, it's supposed to be this cabinet. Now it's in that other cabinet. They've rearranged everything because it's a different ship.
I thought you were going to say you wanted the cabinet opens, he just gets out a bag of chips.
Oh, that'd be funny too. It would be if it was Simon Pegg's version of Scotty, perhaps.
Yeah.
But no, I just wanted him to complain that everything was rearranged.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That would make a lot of sense.
It was a cool little. Didn't make any sense from a functional perspective, but just the way he opened that door, I thought was cool.
Yeah.
He put the hand in there, and then
yeah.
I thought it was cool.
Anything else about this episode? Men, women. Marlena is the right.
I'm sticking with Marlena. Yeah.
Sticking with Keith,
especially since you guys don't like Lieutenant Palmer. So.
You're not going with White Uhura?
No,
I wouldn't either. I guess I'm gonna.
You guys are so down on Lieutenant Palmer. If I started dating her, you guys never hang out with me.
Probably. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to stick with the Valiant that discovered sex.
Oh, there you go.
Because, there was nobody else in this.
That's your really choice before. So.
Commodore Decker.
He was pretty hot. Yeah. Like in that,
crazy,
scruffy, distraught kind of way. But I
kind of like me when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah, with the soft eyes.
Because I can't see.
Yes, it's very cute.
The Doomsday device itself was pretty phallic, and also it had a hole.
I liked the original version better, the one where it looked like a bioluminescent sea creature. Yeah, I'll switch to Decker. He was hot.
I will give you that.
Yeah, the original looked more like a stalactite or a stalagmite, whichever.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't coming up or down, so you couldn't tell.
I guess, yeah.
That's not. Where do we want to rank this episode?
Well, I enjoy that probably more than the last two, certainly. Well, I mean,
I'd put it above the Apple.
Definitely
yes.
The Apple.
Yeah.
What about the Changeling?
Maybe even the Changeling because of, Nomad and...
with new effects, I think I'm...
I'd put it above.
I think
the story, I got better this
I think
time.
I think I am.
What do you think, Colleen? Better or worse than the Spock home planet mating?
I think I liked this one better, having seen half of it.
But that means, if you'd seen all of it, you would
right.
way up there.
Yeah.
So, is it kind of 2 and 2?
My opinion doesn't really count. I didn't watch all of it. Give the other guys whatever it is.
I mean, I'm okay with deciding that iconic status is the deciding factor, but I think we all agree that they're pretty, like, it's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Mirror Mirror our number one for this
Oh,
season?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's better than me.
Oh, I don't think so.
No.
No, I agree.
I'll put it below Muck Time.
All right.
With the knowledge that they're very, very
They are
close.
very close, yes.
It'll be hard to put something between them. I think most things are going to rank below the Doomsday Machine. So, next week,
Yes.
we will be talking about the beloved, classic, awesome, number one ranked episode of Star
It sounds sarcastic.
Cat's Paw.
Oh! God,
But
Yeah.
as bad as I think Cat's Paw probably is, right after that's I Mud.
Okay.
And considering how poorly we thought that first Harry Mudd episode went, I Mud has to be great, because I have such great memories
I do
of Harry
too.
Mudd.
I do too.
So, and then we got Metamorphosis with Zephram Cochrane and Journey to Babel with Sarek.
I
so-
forgot about Metamorphosis till we talked about it last night.
so we're
That's an
okay. We
interesting
just
one.
gotta get through Cat. I mean, we've had some great episodes. We can deal with
Yeah.
that Cat's Paw. Kiss your family.
Live long and happy Hanukkah.